Alright, guys. Welcome to another installment of the reading of the Communist Challenge, the Citizens Course in Freedom versus Communism. And we're going to go ahead and read both the religion and the justice chapter, since they're not very big chapters. We'll put them on one video. And then a couple other small chapters, though, another video, and then we'll wrap up this book and finally go on to the second book. So then would be on number 2 of all 8 volumes here. There'll be a number 2 will be next. Right then, so now let's get started. Alright. Religion. A communist will tell you with a perfectly straight face, for example, that the Constitution of the Soviet Union recognizes freedom of religious worship and freedom of anti-religious propaganda. He will tell you that people still go to church in Russia. Some people do go to church in Russia, but the significance is the fact that this fact can be easily misinterpreted. It does not indicate any change in the long-range communist goal of destroying religion. Following the revolution of 1917 in Russia, the communists set out to exterminate religion in the nation. Churches were closed and turned into anti-religious museums. Clergy were jailed. A government organization, the League of the Godless, was set up to handle anti-religious propaganda and education. When the Germans attacked Russia in 1941, however, Stalin recognized that he must gain all possible support. He therefore relaxed the oppression. Oh yeah, so the Germans attacked Russia, and this is what I said before. Like on the History Channel, the documentary you can get on YouTube about the Russian mafia. Stalin actually took members of the Russian mob, like a lot of them that went to prison, and prison convicts, and promised them their freedom, to pardon their crimes and set them free if they were to join the army. But after the war, Stalin lied his ass off and said, "Screw you, you guys are going back to prison." And according to that Russian mafia documentary, they became known as bitches. You could look at up on YouTube. I saw the whole documentary then. So this kind of reminds me there. I've spoke of this before. So anyway, yeah. So the Germans attacked Russia in 1941. However, Stalin recognized that he gained all possible. He recognized that Stalin. Okay, when the Germans attacked Russia in 1941, however, Stalin recognized that he must gain all possible support, so he therefore relaxed the oppression. Freedom of the church is limited. Church leaders obviously understand that no criticism of the Communist Party or its activities will be tolerated, nor is there any reason to believe that the temporary tolerance of limited church activities indicates any fundamental change in communist aims. We remain, quote, "We remain atheists. We have always been," says Khrushchev. "We are doing as much as we can to liberate those people who are still under the spell of the religious opiate." In short, finding it too difficult and costly to blot out religion immediately, the communists have changed their tactics. David J. Dallin, a longtime student of communism, has pointed out the help of the clergy with regard to countries in which the Greek Orthodox Church was strong, such as Romania, Greece, Serbia, and some Middle Eastern countries, made it politic to maintain the new status of the church even after the war. Anti-religious propaganda, however, was resumed by the successor of the League of the Godless. The new Society for Dissemination of Political and Scientific Knowledge, which was established in 1947. This willingness to change tactics to achieve long-range goals is also evident in communist propaganda in the United States. In this country, where religious belief is strong, anti-church propaganda is soft-pedaled. Churchgoers in Russia today are largely older people, most of them women, and who have a deep religious belief. The absence of young people reflects the steady anti-religious propaganda, including the weaving of atheism in all the courses at school. It reminds me too, I was listening to the classical station. I woke up one morning, they were talking about this famous pianist, I forget her name. She wasn't allowed to leave the country to perform, even though she was invited to. She stood a Christian, and a lot of times it's over there they were saying that they didn't always jail you as a Christian. Well, not unless you criticized the communist government. But if as long as you didn't criticize the communist government, you were actually able to be a Christian, but you were actually declared a non-human. So I heard this on the classical station when they were talking about this one pianist. I forget what her name is. That came up in other classical musicians too. And one of my all-time favorite classical musicians too, Shostakovich too. He was pretty much persecuted in his country, and he was always under scrutiny and under the evil eye. Yeah, that's my main man there, classical musician Dmitri Shostakovich. Symphony number 5 and 9. Good stuff. But anyway, okay, where was I? By its very nature, communism must always seek to eradicate religion that teaches a belief in the dignity of man and the importance of the individual. Yeah, quite interesting. Let's read that again. By its very nature, communism must always seek to eradicate religion that teaches a belief in the dignity of man or the importance of the individual. Oh, can't have that now, can we? Communism and their dialectical materialism have built a highly formalized system of logic, but the whole superstructure rests on the fundamental premise that the material life of society is primary. All other aspects of life, spiritual, cultural, and political, are secondary. Most religions strike at the basic premise. Communism cannot tolerate men who put their God ahead of the Communist Party. Communism is more than an economic, political, social, or philosophical doctrine, says J. Edgar Hoover, director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. It is a way of life, a false materialistic religion. It would strip every man of his belief in God, his heritage of freedom, his trust in love, justice, and mercy. Okay, so there you have it. Yeah, they tolerated religion to a point as long as you didn't criticize the government, but they had an excuse to arrest you. But still, if you were a Christian, they would consider you a non-human. But the way Russia is today, all the rest of it is available to look up. But okay, so we're gonna go right ahead into the next chapter, subtitled Justice. So here we go. The reign of terror that prevailed under Stalin. It seems to kind of relate, reading the Justice title right after the Religion title, because you'll see you'll actually see some good methods to their madness here. Just another one of the methods to their madness. So, anyway, Justice. The reign of terror that prevailed under Stalin in Russia has been widely publicized. Everyone was familiar with the fact that millions of people were deported to slave labor camps or summarily executed. In the past few years, changes in the system of justice have led some people to believe that the Soviet has lessened its police controls. A major reform has been the separation of the functions of investigation, prosecution, and trial. Whereas formerly an ordinary citizen could be investigated, tried, and sentenced by the secret police, he can now expect that a separate prosecutor's office will examine the evidence and decide whether to bring him to trial. If he is tried, it will be by courts which in theory are separate from the office of the prosecutor and the police. It may be that if he were tried for assaulting a neighbor, an ordinary citizen would receive a reasonably fair trial, but if he were accused of disseminating Western propaganda, for example, the situation will be far different. The police are still active. Justice is still what the Communist Party says it should be. Members of the police, the prosecutor's office, and the judges can be appointed and removed by the Communist Party. A defense attorney can be punished by the party for working too hard in his client's behalf. Oh, so in other words, yeah, unlike a country like this one, you're entitled to an attorney. Over there, you were pretty much, well, that's how they operate in some other countries now, some communist countries now. If your attorney worked too hard on your behalf, you could be thrown in jail and tried along with you. One Soviet judge put the matter bluntly: the demand that the work of the judge be subject to law and the demand that is to subject to the policy of the Communist Party cannot be in contradiction of our country. In addition, of course, military courts are still empowered to try cases in complete secrecy. In short, the system of justice is used just as all other institutions, such as education, the Soviet Union, to facilitate the control of the Communist Party over the nation and its people, and to advance it toward the goal of world domination. I think we'll go ahead and read the next little. Wait a minute. No, maybe not. The challenge of communism and how to meet the communist challenge. We'll do them in a separate video, and then finish the book off. I'll read those two parts: the challenge of communism and how do we meet the challenge. That'll be so that the way they'll be in the same video together. I can put them both on here, but that'll be a longer video. So anyway, there you have it. Their terms on religion and justice. And even though this is an older book, in some of them countries it hasn't changed much. And they may have changed some of the tactics, but the communist idea and goal for, anyway, their ideas that they can have world domination hasn't changed. Maybe the people pushing for it, over the years. The methods have changed a little bit over decades, but the goal is still the same. And their goal still exists. So, okay, that's it for this chapter. In this next video, we're going to try to finish off the rest of Book 1. And then later on, eventually I'm going to do Book 2 here. So, okay, stay tuned.